Hello everybody, this is Peter from Winter 9 Studios doing a dev video on some of the work we've been doing with regards to Deep Dwell, Tales from the Oubliette. As you can see, we're testing here Epic Games' newer engine Unreal 4. I'm just doing a profile to see if this is going to match up with some of the stuff we're working in our Unity project and see if we want to switch engines or not. I've set up a couple test profile projects, so I'm going to open up this one with some of our custom assets, and we'll take a look at how they worked out. MaddSketch, our art director, Mr. Aaron Ong, has done some really fantastic work, and I thought it would be nice to show off a little bit of that here in Unreal Engine so we can look at some of the lighting quality and some of the things that we needed to do to transfer some of his files over to the Unreal Engine from the import files that he had sent us for our project. So as you can see, it's going to take a couple of seconds here to open up the test level that I've set up inside here. So as we wait for that to happen, can't believe we're into June already. This is been quite the year already. It's it's a little bit crazy. Alright, we're at 90%. Should be there shortly. And go. So as you can see, this is the goblin that we have set up, and fleshed out quite well. The assets look really good. Sorry for the clipping, because that's just the other character we have right there. And as you can see, the armor and everything came in, the weapons all modeled into the hands and on his arm and shoulders. So look at that from behind. You can see that for sure. Turned out pretty nicely, I would say. Now the one thing, if you look at our fighter class character here, he looks pretty good as well. But there's a little bit of disappearing here as the model paintwork didn't quite come all the way through. So it's invisible from the inside, but visible from the outside. Now, with regards to the scale, I don't know if that is going to matter all that much, but the actual art detail is pretty solid. And you can see everything around him like that. If you like, we can just walk in to the video game or into it and have a look at the rendered sizes. This is the Unreal Mannequin. It's a 3D asset that's free just for play testing and that sort of idea. And we can take a look at all of this from inside the game engine itself. This is the play testing of the third-person perspective. It's pretty solid. Works really nicely. There's the dungeon link. There's the art asset. Looks really nice. So we're going to look at to see how they actually look. Now, to give you an idea as to what we needed to do, if we go into the so up here you can see we're at the content browser, and if we open up the content browser and we have an asset, let's say, for instance, let's do this bag. So we just click the static mesh. As you can see here, it's labeled as a static mesh bag, SAC01, and we can just bring that in, drop that into the scene. Now, one of the things about the import of some of these objects is that if you look over here, loot bag, we have to double click on it to bring it over. But the transition points, the transform points didn't come in properly. And this will give you a sense of the scale from which the items import at. Now the nice thing about this is that if you hit end, it'll snap it right down to the top of the surface. So you can just load it in and just kind of put it down. But as you can see, it's a little bit troubling. For the transform points for each model when they get transported or imported in right now. We're dealing with that right now. So here's the transform points, and here's here's the item. So if we move this around, we can click. Anyway, so yeah, we can move it anywhere inside the 3D space, just like any normal game engine can. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Scaling, all the details are right here, so we can scale it up to, let's say, 5 times the size. Now the cool thing is if we lose it, we can always just jump to it by clicking in the, if we hold shift, we can raise up and travel with the product. But as you can see, just little things that we're still working on, trying to fix some of the bugs out of looking at this transform situation. But we can exit this. No, we don't need to save. Now, what the other project is if we're looking at something as simple as laying out a dungeon. So we're looking at some of the assets here as well. I just did a quick little mock layout of a 3x3 room, some stairs, and the 3x3 room has walls, and then a bunch of floor tiles just to sort of lay out some ground and stuff for a character to walk around. One of the things I'm really happy about with the Unreal Engine is just how easy it is to let's go, well, we want to go to the content browser, content, there we go. So here's the map. It's just a bunch of floor planes and a light source and a little room here. So if we go in here and we click on the model, we can take a look at some of the dynamic lighting as we're here stuck on the wall, but that's fine. We can just move out and take a look at some of how the room sort of lays out. And then here I've walked out into a light source, which directly looks at the wall. So we're looking at it. We set up some nice stairs here so that we can have proper asset here. This all took maybe 15 minutes to figure out how things worked and all that kind of etc. And then just some floor plans. Working with and without the snap-on or the snap-to-grid tool, so as you can see, you can have a little bit of spacing, a little bit of edge, some cleanup work. Just have the model jump, and as we continue to look through here, we just move along. And I'm going to go back up and just show you how quick and easy and stuff things are inside this engine. So, walking into a dark room, ambient lights just sort of adjust, almost like realistic. So from here, what we can do, we go into something called modes, and from here we've got, let's say just a light. We can do a point light. We just drag it into the room, the middle of the room right here. Just drop it like that, and let's move that up to the top, something like that. Now after we've changed that, you can see that we need to rebuild the light map, so we just click build, and the light map will automatically just start rebuilding the whole scene. Here's our the debugging comm panel, basically telling us what it's doing, the percentage of what it's done, any errors or anything that we found within the build itself. Then we close that down and we go back into the model, the 3 playroom, and we place that. So now we've got the light there on the ceiling. The room is much brighter lit. We can move outside, and now when we move back in, we don't get that dark aspect when we walk in, and everything is quite nicely done. So now what we can do from this point is we'll go back to the content browser, and we will go into the where is it? Content. Oh, I didn't import. Okay, I didn't import any of the assets. So this is a good place to sort of look at what importing would look like. So let's pull this up, put that on a nice little sort of side window. Now importing, I have the deep dwell assets here. So we'll go into materials. Let's go here, materials. Actually, let's go back to models. So if I highlight this entire folder, so go to some assets, we just take this folder and drag and drop right here. We're going to start generating all of these. We're going to set everything up as a skeletal mesh just because. And make sure that everything is okay. We're going to import all. So it's going to go through the process of importing everything. It's quite a, quite a display, quite a lot of information going through as we import everything in. Now some of the assets in here are duplicated, so they won't be as clean an import as what I would like, but this is just a quick test just to show you what's going on. As we continue to take just a couple more seconds. There we go. And it's telling us that it's compiling the shaders. We have shaders being compiled, 234 shaders. Now, as you can see here, we got no smooth grouping information was found on the FBX file, or in the FBX scene. So that means that when the 3D Studio, or when the Studio Max program was exported the file, the asset for the group smoothing wasn't finalized or clicked on the export of the actual files. So aside from that, these are just a couple of the little warning bugs that we figure that show up, and we close that down. And one of the things I've also found that on large exports or large imports of data into the engine causes it to stutter. And that's a bit of an issue, so what we're just going to do is we're going to save everything again. so that it saves it. Now the engine itself is compiling a lot of things. It's compiling skeletal rings, it's compiling a lot of different information. But if we go back into, oh, that's OBS, that's wrong. We go back into Epic, and then we just relaunch the program, or the actual folder project that we're working and building into. As you can see, Deep Dwell TFTO, which is Tales from the Oubliette. And again, it's going to compile everything and take a couple minutes to do so. And finally, as this finishes up and opens up, we're back to here, and we go back in, content, go back into our level, that's our map. Now from this content folder we go into our new folder, which is models. There it is. Okay. So now we have a model. Now, one of the great import aspects of this is that when we import this model into the game, okay, so let's see where that went. So one of the things we do is we just double click on Goblin. You can see the transform is really quite small, so we can shift and drag this out into the real world out here. And then hit end and drop down to him. And now he's out into the world. But as you can see, the texturing packs, oh my gosh, that was just terrible, I'm sorry. So the scale is really quite small. We can fix the scaling, and let's just do that now by going to the details panel and scaling up to about 7 times. There we go. So now we've scaled them up to 7 times. So now the next phase, actually I want to see, oh yeah, he's sticking through the bottom too. Alright, so we have a couple of things that we need to do with this new model. From this model we take and we basically double click on him. And then we come down here and we double click on this. Now here we have the model editing tool, and we're going to look at the material that we have for the model. And this is what the blueprint for that material is going to look like. The blueprint system is a visual scripting system, and basically it sets up all the different nodes with regards to how the model is generated. So if we look at this and we see that inside our content browser, all the information was shipped with the Goblin. So this node, which was generated by the engine itself, that actually can get deleted. And then what we do is we just take the texture pack and we drag it right onto there. And we also take the normal pack and we drag that onto here. Now you can see in this view, sorry, I did that wrong. In this view, we have the 3 different nodes. Sorry for the size, guys. Let's make it big. So we have the 3 different nodes, and we can zoom in on it and take a look and see what we've got. So basically, here's the texture node. We just move that up. And the normal that we just imported. Let me just move that out. And then you have all of these little pins. So you take the pin and you drag it over to the normal section. And you take this pin and you drag it over to the base color section. And it generates our material over here. So now we've got the material all generated, so we can save that specifically. So there we go. Excuse me. And we can look at the model here, and we can see now that all the artist's hard work has all been painted directly onto the model in perfect, clean, perfect model asset. So we can close that down, go over to our model here, and we can also now see that inside this lighted area is also been done. Now, the last thing that's happened, as you can see, is he's fallen through the floor. That's a little bit of a concern for us, right? So if we lift him up, and then we go back into the model, we can look at, where are we looking at? Nope, that's not it. Oh. Sorry, I had this figured out before. So we click. Go back to this scene, and there should be a collisions map. Well, this is all the rigging information, so all the bones and the skeleton itself that are all set up. So we can see that all the animation and setup is all there. Here is this aspect of the model. We can rotate them. Well, I'm sorry guys, it's pretty understandable. Oh, there we go. So now he's not falling through the environment. So we actually have a collision-based model on it. So let's save, or let's rebuild this setting. It's going to take a little bit. And the lighting is now complete. Everything is good. So we go back into our gameplay. We take a look at our test mannequin and we run out into the world. And there we go. Now we have our little goblin. And he's got a collider mesh on him. So we've built him. Everything is fine. Now, the next thing is you can just import that collider mesh onto the mannequin, and you can actually have all the animations that's set up with regards to that, and actually run around in the world with him. But I'll show you that in another video at another time. As of right now, thank you very much for taking the time to take a look at this. But I hope to see you guys soon. And again, this is Peter from Winter 9 Studios. Thanks for coming out.